Proverbs chapter 19, Wisdom begins with the fear of the Lord. Proverbs chapter 19 presents a rich tapestry of wisdom that touches on themes of integrity, discipline, relationships, and the central role of reverence for God. As with many chapters in the book of Proverbs, it offers practical guidance through short, vivid sayings that contrast the outcomes of wisdom and foolishness. At its core, this chapter underscores the truth that living in the fear of the Lord leads to a meaningful, secure, and honorable life. The chapter begins by declaring that a poor person who walks in integrity is better than someone who speaks perversely and is a fool. This sets the tone for a recurring theme: character matters more than wealth or status. Throughout the chapter, those who act with honesty, humility, and self-control are praised, while those who lie, scheme, or act rashly are warned of inevitable consequences. Foolishness is not just a lack of intelligence, it is a moral failing that leads people away from God's path and into personal ruin. The writer points out that people often bring hardship upon themselves through poor decisions, then irrationally blame God for the consequences, reflecting a twisted view of justice and responsibility. A realistic yet sobering view of human relationships emerges in verses that describe how wealth attracts friends, while poverty leads to abandonment, even by one's own family. These proverbs do not celebrate this reality, but rather expose the shallowness of human favoritism. In contrast, the person who seeks wisdom and understanding is said to love their own soul, highlighting that inner growth is more beneficial and enduring than external approval. Throughout the chapter, honesty and truthfulness are emphasized. False witnesses and liars are assured of judgment. The text makes it clear that deception and injustice will not go unpunished, reinforcing the biblical theme that God is a God of truth who defends the innocent and opposes the wicked. In this light, wisdom includes aligning oneself with God's values, choosing truth over falsehood, mercy over cruelty, and discipline over indulgence. Family dynamics are also addressed. A foolish child brings ruin to a father, and a quarrelsome wife is likened to a constant dripping, both images expressing the deep emotional and spiritual impact of strained relationships. Yet, while houses and wealth can be inherited, a prudent wife is a gift from the Lord. This acknowledges that some of life's most meaningful blessings, such as a wise and supportive partner, come not from human effort alone, but from divine providence. Laziness is criticized as a self-destructive habit. The lazy person is depicted as too slothful to even feed himself, suggesting an absurd level of inactivity. In contrast, diligence and obedience to God's commands are shown to preserve life. Moreover, generosity is praised with a remarkable insight: giving to the poor is seen as lending to the Lord, and God Himself will repay. This affirms that acts of compassion are not forgotten, but are honored by God. Parenting and discipline are also key topics. The text urges parents to correct their children while there is still hope, indicating that discipline is not cruelty, but a form of love that seeks the child's long-term good. Similarly, those who refuse correction or reject instruction are warned that they will stray from wisdom and face serious consequences. The path to maturity involves listening, learning, and being willing to change. One of the most profound statements in the chapter comes in verse 21, "There are many plans in a man's heart, nevertheless the Lord's counsel, that will stand." This reminds readers that human ambition and strategy are limited, and that God's purposes ultimately prevail. It calls for humility and a deep trust in God's sovereignty. The chapter culminates in a powerful promise: the fear of the Lord leads to life, and he who has it will abide in satisfaction. He will not be visited with evil. This verse captures the heart of the entire chapter. To fear the Lord means to live in reverence, awe, and submission to Him. It is not a fear of terror, but of deep respect and moral seriousness. Those who live this way find not only life, but lasting contentment and security. In contrast, those who mock wisdom, reject justice, and persist in folly are warned of coming judgment. Proverbs 19, then, is not merely a collection of moral sayings, it is a profound reflection on the kind of life that aligns with God's will. It calls readers to pursue wisdom, practice integrity, love discipline, and live in the fear of the Lord. Such a life may not always bring material wealth or worldly success, but it leads to something far greater: peace with God, stability in character, and the satisfaction of a life well lived.
Chapter 19. Better is the poor who walks in his integrity than one who is perverse in his lips and is a fool. Also it is not good for a soul to be without knowledge, and he sins who hastens with his feet. The foolishness of a man twists his way, and his heart frets against the Lord. Wealth makes many friends, but the poor is separated from his friend. A false witness will not go unpunished, and he who speaks lies will not escape. Many entreat the favor of the nobility, and every man is a friend to one who gives gifts. All the brothers of the poor hate him. How much more do his friends go far from him? He may pursue them with words, yet they abandon him. He who gets wisdom loves his own soul. He who keeps understanding will find good. A false witness will not go unpunished, and he who speaks lies shall perish. Luxury is not fitting for a fool, much less for a servant to rule over princes. The discretion of a man makes him slow to anger, and his glory is to overlook a transgression. The king's wrath is like the roaring of a lion, but his favor is like dew on the grass. A foolish son is the ruin of his father, and the contentions of a wife are a continual dripping. Houses and riches are an inheritance from fathers, but a prudent wife is from the Lord. Laziness casts one into a deep sleep, and an idle person will suffer hunger. He who keeps the commandment keeps his soul, but he who is careless of his ways will die. He who has pity on the poor lends to the Lord, and he will pay back what he has given. Chasten your son while there is hope, and do not set your heart on his destruction. A man of great wrath will suffer punishment, for if you rescue him, you will have to do it again. Listen to counsel and receive instruction, that you may be wise in your latter days. There are many plans in a man's heart, nevertheless the Lord's counsel that will stand. What is desired in a man is kindness, and a poor man is better than a liar. The fear of the Lord leads to life, and he who has it will abide in satisfaction. He will not be visited with evil. A lazy man buries his hand in the bowl, and will not so much as bring it to his mouth again. Strike a scoffer, and the simple will become wary. Rebuke one who has understanding, and he will discern knowledge. He who mistreats his father and chases away his mother is a son who causes shame and brings reproach. Cease listening to instruction, my son, and you will stray from the words of knowledge. A disreputable witness scorns justice, and the mouth of the wicked devours iniquity. Judgments are prepared for scoffers, and beatings for the backs of fools.